This episode of Inside Running is proudly sponsored by Sydney Marathon. Join them this September in their bid to become an Abbott World Marathon Major. Learn more at sydneymarathon.com.
That your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place? Under cover of my skin, I've heard all your names. If it's all the same, I'll keep on walking.
Welcome to episode number 279 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. We're coming to you a day late this week, Patreon supporters. You'll know that. I think the general public, it will still go out the same day. I think that's how things will operate in the middle of the week. We are operating a day late because Julian Spencer's in Japan, and I think when he travels, Bradley, it's very difficult for him to get things sorted, get into routines, sort out his life. And we've moved nights, but he's still not here. Welcome to you. How are you?
Thanks, Brady. Yeah, I'm a bit under the weather. For those listening, Moose was the one that changed the recording time, and I was the one that was going to be a half hour late tonight. And as it turns out, Julian's the one that's late. But yeah, I don't think Julian's adjusted too well to dad life. He thinks that every holiday he goes on, it's going to be how he was when he was 25 and single. So yeah, times have changed, Moose.
There'll be some whinging coming up in the next 5 minutes when he joins us, I think, for sure.
Yeah, mind you, Brady, if the bloke had run 2:19 last week, he would have been here an hour early, ready to go.
Yeah, up and about. Yeah, imagine that. He's gone into his first overseas holiday with a toddler and had a DNF. So wouldn't have been going into that week travelling with a family too positive at all. But we'll hear all about it when he joins us in about 10 minutes. The Road to London crew are actually also recording at the very same time as well. So Nick, Sinead and Ali are also on air. So, it's kind of weird that we're doing this while they're doing that, Croaks.
Busy night for you, pulling it all together.
Yeah, busy night behind the keyboard. Yeah, bringing it all out. It's going to be a big evening tonight. But let's start with you. You did touch on the fact that you're a bit sick. What's going on? How did it affect the running week last week?
Yeah, I had actually a pretty good week last week. I'd say it was one of those weeks where it was really good until it wasn't. Started to feel a bit ordinary probably come Saturday afternoon, which I think it's a combination of a few things. One, picking up a bug, but also I've got back into decent volume pretty quickly, and I think it was just a combination of just the last sort of month catching up with me. So I'd strung together I think 5 weeks without a day off. So we're, as I said, recording Tuesday, so I actually took yesterday off. But for last week, Monday, just 45 minutes at 4:22s. And then Tuesday afternoon, we're back out at the horse track for a session of three sets of 3 minute, 2 minute, 1 minute. So we had 60 seconds rest between the 3 and the 2 and the 2 and the 1. But then after the 1 minute, we had 90 seconds rest. This went pretty well. It was quite hot. Like it was high 20s. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this before. It's certainly the first time I've ever experienced it. I felt like I was running smooth at the paces, but my breathing, there was a couple of times where I was really struggling to get a breath in, almost like hyperventilating. And I guess when you're running hard and you can't get the air in, you have a couple of these really short breaths, and then all of a sudden, your breathing's out of rhythm. You then start to get a little bit tingly because your body's not getting as much oxygen as it should. So I was a little bit concerned. I almost pulled the pin after 2 sets, but the last set felt the best. So I'm not sure what was going on there, but it went pretty well considering the heat. I ran 3:12, 3:10, 3:09 for the 3 minute reps, 3:04, 3:03, 3 minutes for the 2-minute reps, and 2:54, 2:52, 2:44 for the 1-minute reps. So when I do this session, I normally look at sort of 30-minute race pace for the 3 minutes, somewhere around 5K for the 2, and 3K, or a bit quicker for the 1s. And you can sort of get away with that when you're having the 90-second recovery after the 1-minute rep. So I was happy with the session. I think the most encouraging thing was just how smooth I felt at those sort of quicker paces, which is encouraging. Then Wednesday, Friday's session was an undulating tempo, and I knew I couldn't do it out at Mulligan's because it's too far for people to travel before work. So I was looking for somewhere to do that. And I remembered back when I used to do some long runs at Stromlo, the back end of the long run used to have some pretty undulating hills to it. And it used to be the back end of Rob de Castella's sort of famous long runs. But the problem is they've been doing a lot of construction out there now, building a lot of houses where they used to run. So I thought I'd go out there for my midweek long run just to check it out. And so they had actually fenced off a few of the trails, but I was able to find pretty much a 4K out, 4K back section, which was pretty hilly. So I sort of did that a couple of times. Didn't realise, I knew it was relatively hilly, but it wasn't until I finished the run. So I ended up doing 90 minutes at 4:15s. And it had 373 meters of climbing over that 21K, which is I was actually surprised how well I felt running 4:15s over that sort of terrain. So that was encouraging, and I was happy with that place for the Friday session. Then where are we? Thursday, just got out for, where are we? Would have been just 45 minutes at 4:25s Thursday afternoon, and then Friday morning we met for this session. I sort of didn't know what to expect because, as I said, I've run out there as part of a long run before, and it was often the back end of the long run. So you're like, oh yeah, these hills are pretty tough, but then it was completely different when you're starting to do it at tempo pace. And I think a lot of us probably miscalculated the effort a little bit. So we did 30 minutes. I averaged 3:37s for 8.3K. Ended up having about, some people got 170 of elevation over the 8K. So, pretty hilly. And for the first 15 minutes felt amazing, and then felt like the effort was quite right. But the hills there, they're not long, but they're quite steep. And I feel like those steep hills really get the heart rate up. Deaden your legs a bit. So the back, I probably 20 minutes was probably enough. The last 10 minutes, I'm I'm just hanging on here. So in hindsight, I think a broken tempo would have been better on this sort of terrain, where you either do 6-minute reps off a 2-minute solid jog, or you do maybe a bit of a progression where you go 10-minute, 8-minute, 6-minute, 4-minute with 2-minute jog before. Because I just think you just get a little bit more quality, without sort of digging yourself into a bit of a hole over the last part. But it was certainly a tough session. And every time I do undulating tempos, when I haven't done them for a while, you sort of, if you aim to do 30 minutes, you get to 20 and you're the last 10's a grind. And then the next time you do it, you get to 25 minutes and the last 5's a grind. And then you're going well when you get towards the back end of it and you've actually still got some legs underneath you and you can sort of, finish strong. It's one of those sessions, doesn't look pretty on paper because it was 3:37 average, whereas the week before for 30 minutes on the flat, I averaged 3:26 and my heart rate was 7 beats lower, running 3:26s for a tempo combined with a fartlek. So not pretty, but makes you strong.
But how about this though? I've just compared it to the World Cross Country course, and this is hillier.
Yeah.
Hillier, when you put it in that context, you're this is difficult terrain to be running on.
Yeah, it is, and you can see why. I was saying this was the back end of Deke's long run, and where we turned around was the base. If they used to call it the 18-mile hill, because it was the 18-mile loop, and I reckon that was probably the last 5K of that sort of long run. So Deke's getting into 22, 23K, and then having to go through these undulations, and then where we turned around, you actually have a 2.5K climb up. So it's tough running, and you just don't realise how much those real short, sharp hills take out of you. And also they just spike the heart rate a lot more than the hills out at Mulligan's. Like Mulligan's, they're a bit like they're more gentle, and so you still feel like you can run with pretty good form.
Could you float the downhills, like do it that way as well, like really smack the hills and just jog the downhills?
Yeah, you could. But yeah, as I said, I think I'm going to do it again in a couple of weeks, but I think I'm going to try the broken tempo a little bit, because I think there was a couple of times where if I had just had a 2-minute, took my foot off the gas a little bit for a couple of minutes, I would have been good to go and finish off pretty strong. Whereas, yeah, I think everyone sort of struggled over that last 10 minutes. But yeah, it'll
sure
make
your training
strong.
Partners love you for adding this to the the training program.
Yeah, no, a few of them enjoyed it. A few of them trained a bit smarter than what I did.
When it's over.
Yeah, that afternoon got out for 7.5K at 4:24s. Saturday morning, an hour out at Mulligan's, 4:23s, and then jumped on the treadmill, watched a bit of the NRL that afternoon. First time I've been on the treadmill since I got injured. So what's that? November, the last time I ran on the treadmill.
Probably injured next week then.
No, it's nice and gentle. Wore the heart rate strap, kept it under 130. And then, yeah, after that run, I just felt just zapped. And I started to think, well, what is it? Is it the fact that I've strung together, 3 or 4 pretty solid weeks? A couple of the sessions during the week were probably a bit harder than what my sessions had been the previous weeks. A bit more elevation. Wednesday's run was 300 plus meters. So just a combination of all that. And then Sunday, we had another group run, but we headed to the south of Canberra, somewhere that I've never run before, around Coolman Ridge. So a good little group of us. I didn't feel amazing on this run. Knew I was sort of coming down with something. Got through 2 hours, 4:23s with, once again, this had like 428 metres of elevation. So my week was 131. Yeah, about 131 with like 1,400 metres of climbing, which is, pretty solid when you consider one run was on a treadmill that had no elevation, and the session at the horse track, even the warm-up and cool-down's all flat. So, yeah, took yesterday off, jogged today. I'm not feeling too bad. Like, I'm not, bedridden, but just a bit flat. So just going to take it easy and hopefully be right for a session on Friday.
You make a good point about, you're about the 7th week in of decent training, I think I just counted. And yes, you get fitter, but you get more tired as well.
Yeah.
So sometimes we want to go, but look what I did 4 weeks ago when I wasn't as fit. I smashed this session. I should be doing it, this time even quicker. But you don't. Yeah. Some people sometimes forget the fatigue that's in their body that they're now carrying.
Yeah. And just another reminder as well, how easy it is to just tip yourself over the edge by just pushing a session a little bit too hard. Because I think the one thing I did really well last year from now through till July was my sessions were relatively long. I was doing like 6 by 6 minutes and I was doing 10 by a K on the track, but the effort was really, really controlled. And I think, personally, given my age and where I'm at, I benefit by keeping sessions in that comfortably hard zone, but maybe making them a little bit longer than doing some of the really shorter, intense sessions. So I'm going to try and incorporate a little bit of that and just keep reminding myself that, 7 or 8 out of 10 effort on a session is all that's really needed.
Because I did think that when you were talking about the 3-2-1 workout, is there any need for you to be smacking 1 minute reps at 2:44 pace? It's good you can do it, but you're your risk versus reward. Add another set and go for slower paces.
Yeah. And that Friday session was definitely definitely hard in terms of just, legs were banged up and the elevation and the heart rate. So, this week will be a bit lighter.
Okay. I think the 214 man has joined us. Julian Spence, welcome from somewhere in Japan. I think you've got a 1-year-old in your hotel room enjoying the travelling from all accounts.
Yeah. I just tuned in and heard 2:45 pace and thought, who have we got on? 2:44. Who's the guest this week?
A bit of GPS mayo though on 1 minute reps, I reckon.
Well, you going in a straight line, weren't you?
A tailwind too, probably.
Yeah, as long as it's a straight line, I'll pay it. I like it. I was impressed.
Yeah.
How are you, Moose?
I'm surviving. We're another good learning experience this week.
Yeah.
Not a running learning. It's a learning about what to be or how to live with a youngster, basically.
Whereabouts are you?
Brady and I had this same conversation after Gold Coast last year. We both stayed on for a few extra days afterwards with our families. And I know I got home and was like, you know what, we should have just come home straight after the race, because we didn't do anything up there that we couldn't have done at home. Like, you know, the kids are too young. The kids are too young still to go to like the theme parks and do all that fun stuff. So it's like, it's just costing us extra money, and it's not really a holiday.
Didn't help it rained every day as well, Croaks, did it? Like, you couldn't even get out of your hotel room.
Oh, that would be extra rough. But yeah, it's been hard, and Pia's been sick, which doesn't help at all. And she's just getting real fussy with her eating. So we basically can't really go out for dinners and stuff. It's been hard work, but it just feels like a real waste. Like you're in Japan, like best food ever, really cool places to visit. Yet we spend most of the time in the hotel room where Pia's her happiest. But
no more holidays for another 10 years, Moose.
Yeah, I was thinking about 4 years would be right. 4 years. Today we went to the zoo, and the best thing that she found in the zoo was like playing with pebbles at the entrance.
Yeah.
Then we see these rad animals, and she's seen them all before, and she's like, she just looks around, sees a cartoon version of it on the sign, and just walks over and starts like pointing at it. Like, yeah, why do we're treating her like she's 12 years old?
Yeah.
It's good. It's just a waste.
How's the body? Whereabouts are you now? You're coming home Friday, aren't you?
Yeah. So we went out. So I'll go through my week. It's probably easier to do.
Okay, yeah.
But so Monday, Tuesday, I didn't run. That was in Osaka. We just went to a different hotel, and my legs were just beat from the race still. So my quads were smashed up and my calves were super tight. So I woke up with every intention of going for a jog those days, but didn't because I was too sore. On Tuesday, Arvo eventually got out. Wednesday, Arvo, sorry. That was when Bree got here, Bree and Pia. So I got out in the Arvo and ran around the Osaka Castle, which is quite a popular place to run. It's all concrete, stones, maybe some asphalt, but at least it's not traffic, because there is a lot of traffic and it's hard work running here, especially when we are like pretty much in the city. Then we went out to just ran the next day, same loop basically. Then we went out to this place called Gero Onsen, which is like a spa town out in the mountains, just below the real mountains, like in a kind of a kind of like a Daylesford type setup where there's heaps of natural springs around, and it's a bit of a B&B type joint. So Bree had booked 5 nights out there, but when we got there, we were staying in this thing called a Roku something, I don't know, but it's like a family run little onsen thing, and it's traditional rooms. You got traditional Japanese food, which was like breakfast of fish and soy sauce, and it was just, after a couple of days, I was like, can you just book something back in the city? This is too hard here. This is there's no supermarkets or anything, so you pretty much just resign to eating their food, and we just lived in the convenience store. It's a little embarrassing, but we weren't traveling real well here. So yeah, I got out. I did a couple of runs. There were one 6K, then another 6K, and then I went for a bigger run on the Sunday. I ran for over an hour out along the road. I'm basically just running on the highway here because there are no spots to run, and concrete. By this stage, I'd run probably 5 or 6 runs on concrete, and I was just hating every step. I don't know how people do it, survive running on concrete their whole life. It's just so uninspiring, and everything just feels harsh underfoot, and you don't get that meditative type crunching under your feet. You know, when you're running along and all you just hear is crunch, 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 crunch. I love that sound. That's how I get in my Zen state of running. But with the concrete, it's just a bit brutal. So we came back to Osaka that night, and we're staying near what we thought was a park, but it's really not. It's like concrete, just again more concrete. And I just ran. I thought I was going south. Turns out I was going direct west. So when I got my phone out to check where I was in a totally different part than where I thought. So I did like a little loop and came back. What was that? That was Monday. Oh, so I've already gone too far. Sorry. So yeah, that's my week. And now we're just counting down the days till we get home. Pretty much like, get me the fuck out of here.
That's Friday, isn't it? Friday?
No, that's it. Oh, Friday night. So
home.
Overnight flight. Be interesting because Mizuno, the generous fellas, they booked me a business class trip, and Breeze got Pia in economy. So how could
be divorced by the time you get home.
Yeah, just trying to figure out how to break that to her.
Give her the business one, Moose, I reckon.
Oh, I don't think airlines would change like that, mate.
I think they would, wouldn't they? If you told them at the gate.
If you're married, yeah.
Oh,
same last name. Some great brownie points for the next years to come, surely.
Bree's so much better with Pia, though. Like, she's so tolerable.
Pia would have slept the whole time, won't she, throughout the night?
Oh, yeah, right. You're fucking dreaming.
Fair to say Japan tourism won't be hitting you up for a review of your trip, Moose.
Not with an 18-month-old, that's for sure.
You've got too much concrete. Your breakfasts suck. Yeah.
I got some cornflakes the other day, and I was in heaven. And this, like, I just can't. I'm not a great traveler. I'm working this out now. I'm actually like, I love routine. And
Creature of habit.
Yeah,
homebody. Yeah.
Huge homebody. Like, I really am, and I think my daughter is too. She just started to come out of her shell, but that first night she got here, or second night maybe, we were at this sushi joint, and she wasn't eating anything, and I'm thinking, oh, what's going on? She was real grizzly, and there's such a polite people here that they don't, like, all of a sudden you got a whiny child and you feel like you're making a nuisance. And then she just looks up across the table and just projectile vomits all over the table, and just full-on pool of vomit on the table, and then just continued to vomit for the next probably 5 to 10 minutes, and then would alternate kind of being half asleep, half vomiting for the rest of the evening. Then hasn't eaten anything except yogurt and fruit ever since, and that's been like 5 or 6 days now. So she's obviously pretty sick. She's getting better now. Today we got out and about. And anyway, let's move on.
Anyway, how good's Mizuno business class for a guy who didn't finish strokes?
Well, it's Jetstar business, but it's still business. We still get a little menu. Not that you can really choose much from it, but you get a menu. You get like a little bit better hostess experience, host/hostess. Bit bigger seat, like much more leg room.
Fold out bed and stuff, or not for Jetstar?
Oh, you're kidding.
Okay.
No, it's like a premium economy for a normal airline.
Okay.
And it's probably what airlines were 20 years ago for everybody.
Okay. So it's not as good as I was thinking it was.
No. I know what you're picturing, like your own private shower and someone cooking steaks for you.
Qatar or Emirates, stuff like that.
It ain't that, but it's the best that you can get for this flight.
Do you come back via Cairns as well, straight home?
Yeah, still Cairns. Yeah.
Did you end up buying a pram?
Nah, the luggage showed up the following, not the next night, the one after, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. It's all there. Funny that, like, over here, I went out for a run, and that's why I'm late because I looked at the map, and I'm like, okay, it's 4K to this park, so I'm thinking, yep, I won't be any longer than 20 minutes. But you get down out of the elevator, and that's 3 or 4 minutes getting through the hotel, and then you jog and then the first set of lights, you're waiting at least a minute at them, and then there's a set of lights every 1 to 2 minutes until you get out of the little CBD area. So there's an extra at least 15 minutes on top of that 20 to get to the place you want to get to. And there's no jaywalking at all. So you could be at this tiny little alleyway, and it's probably about 4 meters across the street, and everyone's just waiting there for the green man to come on, even though there's no traffic anywhere. It's like 6:30 in the morning. It's amazing how compliant they are. I would just be running in the middle, straight through all this, but you feel like you're breaking the law if you, yeah.
All right. All the best for the travel home. I'll whistle through my week. I did a workout Monday morning because I come off a Saturday long run, and I knew this week was going to be messy because a few different things were happening. So my workout was 1K under threshold, hit about 309, 1K over threshold, 329 times 5. So 10K in total. Ended up averaging 319. Probably not the easiest way to run 10K because I think like you spike that 1K a bit quicker, the heart rate there. And it probably gave me a pretty good indication that my fitness isn't quite there yet because the float still felt pretty honest. Like it wasn't like when you do a workout like this in marathon block and you're pretty fit and you just feel like a minute in, you're just like almost jogging steady. I still had to kind of work. I did chuck the heart rate monitor on for the first time in ages and averaged 163. So that was kind of, I think, around about the right mark and pretty accurate. But just the feel of working was just there. In the afternoon, I did 30 minutes at 4:36s. Then that evening, I had that like sports star dinner. So I was up pretty late. So the next morning, I tried to sleep in a bit and then took the kids to daycare and then ran after that. So at about 8:15, I did 2 hours, got out on the roads where they're like, I was talking about it last week, they fixed them after the floods, got all the machinery out there, just like grading them, fresh dirt, it's beautiful. Just pretty much went like an hour out, an hour back, average 423s. And then I got back just in time to record last week's episode. On the Wednesday, I did 70 minutes, listened to Road to London. Did you boys listen to that last week?
Yeah, during my midweek run.
How about Sinead's week?
Yeah.
Like, you get a real good, I guess, view. Like, everyone obviously knows she's the real deal. She sets the Australian record, but like the determination and like the mindset, I guess, of like work ethic, would that be the right word? I was just like, when she figured out that she could do like 2 workouts a day, and she just pretty much just smacked the whole back end of the week just doing double workout days. Yeah, you just got a really insight into the work ethic of someone at the very, very top there.
Double water running days.
Double water run, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, not double workout on the road every single day running, but even that takes some kind of next level motivation. So I enjoyed that Wednesday morning. Got out for 30 minutes in the afternoon. Wednesday, Thursday did the same workout as you, Croaks. 3, 2, 1. What day of the week did you do it? Friday.
Tuesday.
Okay. I was going to say you copied my Strava, but I've copied yours. I had a minute, though, after everything. Same thing, I was working on like 10K, 5K, 3K. So I was kind of trying to hit like 305s, 3 flat, 255 pace for the efforts. Felt like junk early, but then come good in the second set and the third set. Felt pretty good. Kind of tick that off. I like it because you just get to work at different paces. I like the feeling when you've come off the 1 minute into the 3 minute again. I think that's a really good indication if you're doing the session properly that you almost have to put the brakes on in that 3 minute to kind of slow the pace back down. It's good bang for your buck as well, like 28 minutes, 26 minutes, something like that. Got out for 7K in the afternoon Thursday, and then Friday, actually Thursday night, Carly went to Ed Sheeran in Melbourne, MCG, pretty much with everyone else in Victoria. I think the amount of pictures I saw on social media of people at that concert, what was it, 108,000 people both nights. Incredible.
About 110 on the second one.
110, yeah. Did you see some of the footage when he got everyone to like put the torch on their phone?
Yeah.
Unbelievable scenes. So she was there. So I had the kids Thursday night, which meant I couldn't run Friday morning. Chucked them at daycare and then went to work for the day. And then just after work, I got out for 30 minutes, 4:35s, and this was the weekend away in Echuca. So, yeah, about 10 mates, met us in Echuca, hired a house. It was great fun. These are some of the guys that I only get to see once a year. One of them gets on an aeroplane to get down there, and then they come from all different parts of the state. So I just didn't run at all, Saturday, Sunday. We had all these, it was kind of like Bucks party kind of theme. The guy organised it had different activities to do over the weekend, and you got different points for different activities, and then there was a person who won a trophy at the end of it. So it was good. I didn't really check my phone, checked it I think twice over the weekend, just my run to PB coaching email, just to check that things were smooth there with my athletes. And yeah, it was just fun to drink beers, do activities, catch up, reminisce.
How are you going to go on a boys' trip in your hometown?
Had to get, it wasn't great.
That is just ridiculous.
Walking back from breakfast one day and a kid yells out from the other side of the road Mr. Trelfall, how you going? And I'm just got to keep my head down here. So you just got to be...
Your wife? You might run into your wife on one of the nights out.
That being said, Moose, based on your last half an hour, I reckon that's the type of holiday you'd want with the mates.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave home.
Oh, yeah, actually.
I was at a pub at one stage.
Did you just stay at your house?
No, I stayed at the house. Slept in the dodgiest, because you got to share bedrooms, and I was just in this tiny single bed, and I should have slept at my house. I was thinking that, but you really got to cut yourself, off and just this is what I'm doing for the weekend. Almost treat it like I'm in a different town. But yeah, I was at the pub at one stage on the Saturday Arvo, and I just saw my car drive past with Carly and the two kids in the back seat, and I'm okay, I'm a K from where I actually live, but it was fun, it was good. And I think, as I said, these guys, see them once a year, and I'm happy to it's even the training week was a bit silly trying to fit, because I fitted, 2 workouts and a long run into 4 days pretty much, so I probably wouldn't recommend that to people, but I do recommend to people, at times you need to just not worry about trying to fit everything in, and understand that you're going to drop a ball for the week, and the ball I dropped was running over the weekend, and I'm okay to do that because the other 50 weekends of the year I'm pretty dedicated in hitting long runs and workouts and things like that. So the week was only 106k, but it was fun. I'm a bit tired now, but we survived it, and we move on. Thanks on Patreon supporters, boys.
All right, let's do it.
Norwegian themed this week, Croaks.
Yeah, all from Norway. So I don't know if Christian's been drumming up all his mates to sign up. If you have, thanks, Christian. I'm thanking Martin Brecky. Hopefully I pronounced the surname right. Probably haven't. He follows Christian on Strava, so I hope it's the right guy. If so, he's run 15:46 for 5K, 32:58 for 10K, ran 74 minutes at the 2022 Barcelona half, and 3:33 at last year's Berlin Marathon. According to Strava, he's running London this year. And by some of the photos I saw, it looks like he's a pretty smooth mover. So all the best for your lead up to London, Martin, and thanks for your support.
Do you know his job, Croaks? They're always smart. They're always smart, the Norwegians.
Yeah.
Smart and rich. Remember the annual income Christian was banging on about on road to Valencia?
They're definitely rich, but we know Christian pretty well, and none of us are calling him smart.
I'm catching up with Christian later in the week. We're doing an episode. Who are you thanking, Moose?
I've got Stian Darrell from Stadsbygd.
That's pretty good, actually. That was a good accent there at the end, Moose.
There's got to be another vowel in there. There's just consonant. There's just 5 consonants in a row. Stadsbygd. In Norway, he's run 16:35 for 5K, 34:46 for 10K, 88:47 at last year's Trondheim half marathon, and 2:52 at the 2022 Amsterdam marathon. I'd say that 10K/5K is probably the best there. We think that he's the senior consultant at Jefferson Well, which is in risk and compliance, finance and accounting. Wow, that's about as white collar as you could get, isn't it?
Very white collar.
Knows his numbers.
Yeah, real good on a spreadsheet, I reckon.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Stian. I'm going to thank Magnus Erstad. This is the Magnus, boys, the famous Magnus from...
the Magnus?
Yeah, this is the one that Christian talks about a lot. Croaks has got from Norway.
National record holder, wasn't he?
He was, but he 50K? Lost it, in the 50K. He's ran 2:55 for the 50K, but someone did get it off him, I reckon maybe last year. 15:54 for 5K, 30:53 for the 10K, 68:22 for the half, 2:21 for the marathon. That was at Rotterdam. Not sure exactly the year, but I know he's going back. He's training for it at the moment, coming up in April. He has a Master's of Science in Energy and Process Engineering specialisation in thermal energy and indoor environment. And I just had a quick chat to Christian before we got on air. I did get to meet Magnus actually at Valencia the day before. Really tall fella, covers the ground really well, and Christian's telling me he's throwing everything at Rotterdam coming up because he's got a newborn child at the moment and taking a bit of time off work and thinks this is his last chance to really put some big training in and nail the preparation whilst he doesn't have to juggle work. I would suggest though having a newborn is not like a training camp, but at least you don't have to go to work. And Christian told me that he has a very, very, very kind girlfriend, which is a good way to describe someone's girlfriend, I guess. Looking to move away from the city after summer this year for more family connection with the children's grandparents, and loves a moderate 4-minute pace croaker jog. And similar to Moose, he's a super responder to the new shoes. According to Christian, he'd be lucky to break 2:30 without them. So, what were you, Moose? Super shoes, 2:24?
Saying you're garbage. Garbage Moose without the super shoes.
You and Magnus.
I'm not sure that's what he means.
That's what he said to me, yeah. He enjoys the banter, so hopefully you got a bit of a laugh out of that. Magnus, thank you for your support on Patreon. Thank you to everyone. Just as I was reading that out, I got an audio file sent to me from Nick Earl, so they've just finished recording the 3rd episode of Road to London. All that stuff is available on Patreon. Extra Elite with over 100 bonus episodes, heaps of good training talk, heaps of funny content, listen to questions, catching up with Toby and Christian on Friday to talk about what they've been doing in their running lives. So if you like the podcast, like supporting independent running media, that's a way you can do that over at patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast.
If there is one marathon you do this year, really make it count. We're ecstatic to announce that the Sydney Marathon is a candidate race for the prestigious Abbott World Marathon Majors. To help us reach our goal of becoming one of the world's best, we need passionate runners like you to join us on this amazing journey. Incredibly, we're already on our way to our target of 15,000 marathon finishers, with almost 7,000 registered from all over the world. 2023 is set to be the biggest marathon Sydney has ever seen. By securing your spot in the Sydney Marathon, you'll be contributing to our success and helping us to join the ranks of world-renowned marathons such as New York City, London, Boston, Chicago, Berlin, and Tokyo. Run over the Sydney Harbour Bridge and past some of Sydney's most beautiful icons before finishing at the world-famous Sydney Opera House. Grab your mates and register today so we can make history in the best way we know how, together.
Running news, fellas. Big race of the weekend domestically was down in Tassie, Run the Bridge. The lineup didn't look amazing early on. I remember looking at the elite field and thinking it was a bit light on, but then they added some of the guys that are still here from the World Cross Country Championships and some of the athletes that ran at the Murray Plant meet. I'm thinking maybe they might still be here for Sydney, not sure. But Kenneth Kiprop, he was the winner of the men's race, but he was second across the line to Prisca Chesang. She's Ugandan, I think, off the top of my head. She ran 32:34. So because she was first across the line in the Battle of the Sexes, because the gap between the course records is the gap between when the men and women start. So she ran 32:34, and I think she won by maybe 4 to 6 seconds. It was pretty close, but one of those ones that Kenneth was closing really hard and was probably never going to catch her because the gap was too big. Kenneth ran 28:47 for the 10K course. Dan Kibet, he was second in 29 flat and third across the line. So Kenneth got $4,000, Dan got 2, Prisca got 8, and then Fourth across the line was then Leanne Pompeanni in 32.59. And she got $1,000. Jen Gregson was then the third female across the line in 33.32, and James Hansen was the third male across the line in 29.53. You telling me, Croaks, that they don't get prize money because it's just, so being third man and third woman, you don't get prize money?
No, so they just pay for positions across the line, but they do pay down to like 10th.
Okay, so they would have still got some, but not as significant.
James and Jen. So I think Jen might have been 5th across the line, so she might have got like 800.
Yeah.
And then it went down to like 10th place.
Jimmy 600, yeah.
But there was no Kenneth, because he won the men's race, there was no like first place male prize money.
Yep.
It was just wherever you come across the line, that's the money you get.
I saw the times and the results, and was it windy? Like the times generally looked pretty slow.
Yeah, so I think what Jack's course record's like 28:20 maybe. So, and then I don't think the women's record. I think Jen holds the women's one, maybe like 32:20 or something like that. So yeah, a little bit off course record pace, but yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't see the race myself.
Have you spoken to Tommy Moose? Like, it was more of those guys, like guys who can run 29 flat were running 30 flat.
Yeah, I don't think the weather was great. Sounds like Tom said that the roads were really wet.
Okay.
So it must have been raining. He said a lot of not a lot, but some of the super shoes were slipping around a lot underfoot.
It's not flat either.
It's not flat, no. But yeah, 28:20 is pretty quick for a not flat course. Yeah. I guess he's run 27 low.
They do still run quick down that hill. Like I know I've done it before, and you do lose a lot of time going over it, but you can make it up going down it.
If you're a good downhill runner.
Yeah.
Thoughts on like not having prize money for being the first male across the line?
Well, you just have to get and you never will get it perfect, but you have to get the start times right, and you have to be pretty analytical in order to make it fair for men or women, and that's probably where the fairness factor comes in.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Still got $4,000 though.
Yeah.
But are you saying what happened if there was 4 females and then a male, or the other way around? It's like someone's actually won their category and got actually $400.
Because essentially, like the course, so I think the gap is based on the difference in the course records. So, like if you got some superstar come out and have one course record that's way better than another one, then one of those sexes is probably going to miss out on some prize money because of the gap is just too big.
Yeah, good point. And you'd think that'd readjust it. I think at this stage it's been like the history of the event, it's been very close. Like remember last year when Brett got Rose, like literally one step before the finish line.
It was pretty much perfect last year.
It was, yeah. And most years they're pretty close together. But yeah, you'd be right, Croaks. Like imagine if Yak had come down.
Yeah, like that's it. Or say Kipchoge broke the men's record and ran like 26 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you've got like your domestic girls still holding the the women's course record. The girls are going to get such a big gap that none of the domestic guys, if it was just domestic guys here racing, would stand a chance. We got to be innovative in the sport as well and do things differently, and I assume that's why Walsh has put it on there. Like I think it gets people talking about it, which is what we're doing now. So especially having $8,000 to win a race, like that's pretty good prize money for running.
Yep. Tokyo Marathon Moose, catch any of this on your travels?
Well, no, not really. I had the tracker going for Hachi, so I really wanted to see how Hachi went because he was running, and I've coached him for a long time now. He's an ex-teammate of yours.
Good fella, Hachi too.
Brady, yeah, good fella, and he sort of toiled away for a long time. He just does a couple of marathons every year. So I was following him, but I wasn't watching the race as such. So in the women's, Rosemary Wanjiru, she ran the sixth fastest female time of, she became the sixth fastest female marathoner of all time. So she ran 2:16:28, and Tessahay Gemechu ran 2:16.56. So she was she's now the 8th female to break 2:17. Third place was Ashete Bakiri, which in 2:19.11. And first Australian was Lisa Weightman in 2:31.42. She was 13th overall. So that's not a repeat from last week. Lisa did run Osaka and ran 2:23 and came fourth, and has backed up 1 week later and ran Tokyo in 2:31.42. And I think went through in about, I think actually Hutchie / Hardy, he had a name change, but he said that Lisa was in front of him for the first 15K. And Hutchie's gone and run 2:22 in this race. So that's she didn't go easy, that's for sure.
Yeah, her first 5K was very close to like 17 dead. Which is similar to what she was running, averaging with you last weekend.
Yeah. So question for either of you, like, why?
I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about why. Do you think it's the World Marathon Major? Is there some kind of record with who can average the fastest time across all the World Marathon Majors?
Oh, that could be.
Maybe. That was the thing. And then I'm thinking like the ASICS connection. Obviously, she's sponsored by ASICS. Like, was there a significant financial incentive to have an ASICS athlete in the lead pack for a chunk of the race?
That's not the lead pack.
Or in the top 15, top 20. They're the only thing. Because it's not the smartest thing in the world to run 2 quick marathons in the space of 7 days.
Well, did you see the day before it was something about how she wanted to run Tokyo because it was like one step closer to ticking off all of the World Marathon Majors? I think she's only got maybe Boston to go.
Yeah, she does. Yep.
Yeah, which like when I saw that, I'm like, okay, like she's over there anyway. Maybe she'll just roll around and run 3 hours, jog around, which even then I'm like, well, personally, I would struggle to do that the week after. Like if I had to do that after Gold Coast last year, it would have been like a hell of a battle. And so I thought, oh yeah, that's what she'll do. And then to see 2:31, I'm like, oh, like that's completely different. But yeah, like it's risky. Like it's just, she's got like sort of one hand on an Olympic spot. And imagine if like something just went wrong, like by doing this, and then she's just, on the sidelines for 6 months. Like it's, yeah.
On the flip side,
she got away with it.
It's a pretty remarkable physical achievement, isn't it, to go out? Because 10 years ago, we're looking at Lisa run 2:31.42, gets her in pretty much any Olympic team she wants in Australia. That's probably an Olympic qualifier back then, and there wasn't that many girls that had broken 2:30. So it would have been one of the better times for the year. It probably would have ranked her in the top 3 for the year. And to do that 1 week after Osaka, it is quite incredible that she managed to do that, especially after going through half very quickly.
Well, it's Yuki-esque, isn't it? Because like Yuki does it, like Yuki was doing this stuff 10 years ago, and you're like, wow.
Well, I mean, I'm just like you related to Gold Coast. I got through halfway, and I was cooked after half. There's no way I'll be able to finish any of the marathons I've done in the past, and even consider running a marathon 1 week later.
Well, I remember after Gold Coast, my first run back was the Saturday after, and I paced a guy down here in Canberra for a 20-minute park run. And I'm like, yep, that's enough for me for the day.
Yeah.
One thing you boys need to learn, though, is don't compare yourself to any of our female marathoners. They just do their own stuff. It doesn't matter about their age, their recovery, their mental strength is just a whole different thing. They just do remarkable things, so it just does not surprise me.
Yeah. So that's so that happened. She does have a lot of time until the Olympics. So I mean, you'd probably say, okay, 2 massive efforts, you'd have a big break now, recover properly from those. In the men's, Deso Gemisa ran 2:05.22 in a sprint finish with Mohamed Esa. 2:05.22, got given the same time. So this was an interesting finish. As they were sprinting, one bloke was veering. The guy,
Deso,
the winner, Deso was veering right, kind of like cutting off the path of Mohamed Esa. I'm not sure whether it was enough to impede him, but it certainly looked pretty shit from the front on view because he wasn't holding a straight line, and like there's only one reason to be cutting in front of the other person. It's to block their path.
It was unsportsmanship, wasn't it? Like, looking at the video, you're like, he was doing that intentionally. And maybe it's just a tactic. I don't think you're going to disqualify a guy.
It could be a tactic.
And when you're in front, you choose your line. It was probably all within fairness of the rules, but at the same time, I was like, oh, that was a bit sneaky, old Deso.
Yeah, you just sit there and go, if they're in the same training group, probably be some banter there over the next few months.
Yeah.
About how he dogged his mate. Anyway, Sige Getachew was third in 2:05.25. So in that pack, Cam Levins was notable for a new North American record. So he's Canadian. He was fifth. He ran 2:05.36. So that takes the North. They have that, do they? A North American record.
Yeah.
Well, he took that and the Canadian record.
Because it's like area records,
Yeah.
like Oceania, and North America, the South America one, I guess, and European.
Fair enough. We'll pay it. So yeah, that's that. That was Tokyo.
Yeah,
all right.
It's good to see Cam Levins do that. It's been around for a long time. Remember his old Driven series on Flow Track back in the day?
Well, remember, he was the guy at college that was just running massive miles.
That's what the doco shows.
What was it? What was he running? Was it close to 200 miles a week or something? Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was triples. He was running 3 a day.
He still is, I think. There's that good podcast with Jesus, the Swedish bloke. We'll try and put in the show notes. I remember talking about him in my weekly recap like 6 months ago, listening to it.
Yeah,
and
Christian loved it.
Yeah,
Christian
and he does a lot at like 4:20, 4:30 pace too. Like, it's a lot of time on your feet, but triples.
Gee.
So,
here we go.
Yeah, we'll put that in the show
Everyone
notes
will be out there.
Krog, sound running?
Yeah, so there was a meet over in the US, over in California, I believe, where this was set up, I think, to target fast 10K, to try and get people under that sort of world championship qualifying time, which is super quick now. We had an Aussie girl running in the, I guess, B 10K, Lauren Ryan. She ran 32.09, won the race by about a minute, which 32.09 would have beaten some people in the A race. So I think, that's a pretty solid run given that she was on her own for a long way. In the men's open race, Woody Kincaid got the win in 27.06 from Joe Klecker, 27.07. So 27.10, I believe, was the World Championships qualifier. So both those guys got that. In the women's race, Eilish McColgan, she ran 30 flat, point, 8 maybe. So that was a new British record, which was previously held by Paula Radcliffe. Paula had run 30.01. Alicia Monson, she ran 30.03, which was also a new American record. So some pretty fast times there. Ollie Hall paced the men's race for maybe 6K. Do you guys see any of that? Any thoughts on that?
I saw the chat about the wasn't Klecker a bit mad at the end? He kept getting clipped by Kincaid.
Yeah.
Kept getting clipped. And then he took off the singlet and said some stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he put a tweet out because he, obviously people could see that he was angry, and I guess when you first look at it, you go, "Oh, he's angry because Woody basically didn't do much work until
once
like
Ollie
the
pulled
last
out 17 minutes. I think he took it the whole way through.
Yeah, and so Joe was basically saying that, no, I wasn't pissed off about that. It was more the fact that 900 metres to go, I was getting clipped, and as a result, like, his calf started to like sort of cramp up or whatever, and so he was worried that he wasn't, he's on track to get the World Championships qualifying time, and something like that could sort of derail the race. So I think that's why he was pissed off.
Yeah.
But McColgan, she makes her marathon debut in London. So it'll be interesting to see how she goes off the back of that 10K sort of shape.
No, I think she's out, isn't she?
Oh, she's out now. I thought she was making her debut in London.
Yeah, I think it was announced, and then she may have had some training issue.
Okay.
Actually, I could be wrong. Did she?
I thought no.
Oh,
I
no,
thought
she pulled out of the October
like,
one. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep. I've just googled it. Yep. She was set to debut in October.
Yep, and she pulled out of that one.
2022, and now it's moved back to April.
I did read that she's like finding the marathon training tough in terms of just more niggles as a result of like the extra volume, longer sessions, that sort of thing. And even the photos I saw from this race, she had like strapping on her knee.
Did you also see that she had her bib, no printed one, but just handwritten?
Yeah, last minute.
Yeah.
Last minute entry.
She's like broken the British record in a handwritten bib. That's real blue
Bloody
collar.
good, isn't she?
Yeah,
she's
good.
so good.
Yeah.
And like I remember watching her like years ago, thinking, yeah, she's not going to get much better than this. At the time, I'm like, it just doesn't look right. and it's the same with Charlotte Purdue when she runs. I'm like, yeah, she ain't going to run that fast, but because in my mind something's telling me that doesn't look like you should run fast. But both of them just totally destroy that and make me look stupid. And they're like almost the opposite type of runner. Yet both are very good at what they do.
Yeah. And they just keep getting better, both of those ladies.
Yeah, they do.
All right, Croaks, you've got about... did every state pretty much have their championships on the weekend?
Pretty much, other than, I think, Tassie and maybe Queensland. And like I was knowing whether to put this stuff in, but I think we should celebrate like some state championships. But I'm not going to go through first, second, and third of every event. What I've done is just pretty much picked out, first male, first male and first female for the 800, 1500. If somebody's run particularly fast in a steeple, I've added that as well. But New South Wales, the women's 800 was won by Georgia Wassell, 208. Luke Boys won the men's in 149. 1500, Jayla Hancock got the win there in 417. Connor Whiteley got the men's victory in 346, so he's now the 1500 metre and 5K New South Wales state champion. And Georgia Whincup ran a 946 to win the women's steeple there. Vic Champs, 800 metres. Emma Philippe won the women's in 206. Joshua Pedrasat won the men's in 151. Madeline Murray won the women's 1500 in 421, and Lachlan Hurd won the men's 1500 in 345. South Australian state champs, Annabelle Keto won the women's 800 in 215. Jack Atherton won the men's in 150. Zoe Toland won the women's 15 in 431, and Isaac Hain won the men's in 344. And the WA state champs, the women's 800 was won by Rebecca Newton, 207. Luke Burrows won the men's in 150. In the 1500 metres, Nina Yates won the women's in 429. Luke Burrows doubled up and won the men's in 352. Luke Graves ran 843 for a steeple victory. And they had the 3K as well. Sian Monks won in 10 minutes, and Matt Smith won the men's in 825. And then Queensland, they just had their 3,000 metre state championships. Olga Fasova won the women's in 920. And Harvey Crum won the men's in 8:19. So, question for you on state championships. Now, a lot of those names that we read out, there's a handful that we know. Like, a state championship's not prestigious anymore?
Good question.
I don't think... I mean, compared to what, though?
Well, all right.
Compared to what they used to be?
Well, you could rattle off a handful of top runners from all of those states that aren't at those state championships.
Yeah, but are you suggesting that these used to be a lot more prestigious than what they are now?
Maybe, like, I don't know, like...
Were there heats at the Victorian one, Croaks?
For some events.
For the 1500, do you know? Because that used to be a big deal if you could make the...
Yeah, there were heats.
I think they were for the men's. Yep. Not sure for the women's.
Yeah, no, I think that would have been straight final. I think it's, similar to the AV stuff in a way, like it's that next level down, that development kind of, but you still have some superstars putting their heads in, like there was some Australian reps there. Jayla Hancock Cameron, she's running well. Lockie Hurd's running well in Victoria. Depends, Isaac Hain, like there's some big names sprinkled throughout here.
I think you're right about comparing it to like a cross country race, but if you look at the Bundoora cross country, I'd say the depth is a lot deeper, for a Bundoora cross than it is for the men's 1500. I would think so. Maybe because it gets the runners from all distances, and we are so focused on the longer distances that we're probably just not that aware of a lot of the 800 guys and girls.
I'll put it this way: there's also the Box Hill 3K this Thursday night, and I'd say that would be deeper than the Vic 1500 metre race.
Yeah. Probably.
So why is that though, Brady? Like why?
Because people want times, Croaks. I think times now are more important than state championships for a lot of people, because the state championship may just be out of reach. So that's why you might see Lockie Hurd, and I know Jared Clifford was there as well. Whereas that next tier down, those next 8 to 15 guys, they probably we don't really care what position we come, but we want to try and break 8-10 for 3K. So we'll hit target that instead. Yeah. And there is a lot more racing these days, it seems, which is a great thing. Like there's a lot more pop-up 5Ks on Tuesday and Thursdays and Friday nights. And I think there's some good stuff happening, and obviously sometimes the depth's going to be impacted.
So I used to love the New South Wales 1500 metre state champs, because like you sort of said, Brady, like making the final was like a bit of a big deal, and I reckon a lot of people had sort of big breakthroughs in those races because the heats weren't. So if you're a 4-minute runner, for example, over 1500 metres, the heats were never super crazy. So you're actually competitive in those races to then, run maybe mid to low 350s in that heat and have a bit of a breakthrough performance. So I think they still serve a purpose.
That's exactly my PB, Croaks. That's how it happened. Heat of Vic 1500 metre champs back at Olympic Park. Didn't even make the final.
But this is the perfect event for someone who knows they aren't going to nationals to be training for and peaking for. This is their championship.
Yeah.
So you got 800 runners that run 150, 152. They're the ones that are aiming for this type of event. They're not trying to get qualifiers for nationals, or they're not trying to win nationals or go up to Europe. So it's a lot of domestic club level runners that are aiming for this. So that's the purpose that it serves.
But does it cheapen the medals a little bit when that 3 or 4, maybe 5 runners that are significantly faster aren't turning up to these events?
I don't think so, because I've always considered it like this. I've always thought that this is the state championships and it's on one weekend, but I never really know it's on until it's run and done.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a listener question, Croaks. Want me to read this bit out? You've just had a bit of reading time.
Yeah, you can go for
it. The question. This week's listener question, Train Talk, is sponsored by the Sydney Marathon. Join them this September in their bid to become an Abbott World Marathon Major. Learn more at sydneymarathon.com. It features an all-new marathon course, is Australia's fastest marathon with a record of 2:07:03, which was set there last year. It's got new extended cut-off time of 7 hours, increased on-course entertainment, an opportunity for runners to go into the draw to win an Abbott World Marathon Major ticket. I think I'm going to do it, Croaks, Sydney, just as a long run. I think we owe it. Having a World Marathon Major in Australia would be a big deal. And I think we've got to get up there and just jog around for 42k to help them get the numbers.
Well, what do they need? 15,000?
15,000, I think it is, yeah. I think we do something we just round up a massive posse of people. We go for a weekend away, like Bathurst. Might even drive up there. Because
it's a lot of people. It's a lot of people to cross the line of a marathon.
It is.
Especially in this country. And especially when they've got all the other events on. They've still got the 10k and the half.
That's the only way they're going to do it, though. Having people that are we're not here to prioritise this as a marathon race. We need to get, the masses to somehow want to... And it's hard to actually jog a marathon. But guys like me and you, who can maybe... we can jog 42 for a long run one day.
It could be a bit of fun, couldn't it?
It could be.
Running the streets of Sydney.
Good fun.
Weekend away.
We'll see if we can break 3 hours. Maybe we could be the 3 hour pacers, me and you.
Oh, you could wear you could wear those balloons.
I'm not wearing a balloon. I'm not wearing a backpack. No way am I doing that. But it could be a good way. We talk about, how do we make the sport better in Australia? This could be a way to our little contribution to try and help get a World Marathon Major on Australian soil. Anyway,
watch this space.
I wasn't meant to say the end of that bit there, but that was just my idea. This is now the actual segment from Sydney Marathon.
Yeah, so well, thanks to all those people that wrote in with questions, and we will actually use a fair few of them, over the next few months, because there's some really good questions in there. But I thought, given Sydney's 27 weeks away, there was a question that came in about what you do before your marathon block. So the question is, how would you structure a 10 to 12 week base period before a marathon block? So that question comes in from Ian Kehoe, who I believe lives in Mexico City. So thanks for your support, Ian, and good question.
Come out to Sydney, Ian. Join us. Get on the Payson bus. That's a good question, isn't it? Because sometimes you see people go a bit early. Sometimes you see people go a bit late, trying to figure out what to... I like working backwards as well. Like, what are you going to see a lot of in that marathon block? And then you almost don't want too much of that beforehand, in those 10 to 12 weeks beforehand, because you've got to have the mental stimulus, the motivation. You don't want to be stale of doing too much of that stuff before you actually get to that marathon specific block. And also you want to be doing things in that 10 to 12 weeks which are going to prepare you for that marathon block. So I like to still have a decent long run to then, when I get to let's just play with 12 weeks. So if I've got the 12 weeks beforehand into the 12 weeks before the actual race, I'd want to be able to do 2 hours, no worries, before I get to that 12 weeks out. So that's something I'd be making sure that I'm building my long run to be able to run 2 hours, no issue at all, week in, week out, maybe the occasional down week. And then know I enter that 12 weeks of marathon specific work where 2 hours already isn't an issue. I'd then be concentrating on other training systems, like I'd be doing a bit of 5K, 10K half marathon work on the other, on the weeks leading in, and really just trying to work those systems. And I'd probably be still doing 2 workouts a week. I'd be on that Tuesday, Friday, Sunday long run cycle before potentially going to the Wednesday, Sunday higher stress cycle. Mm-hmm. Anything else to add there? I'm sure you guys have got plenty to add there.
Oh, I think you covered a lot of it. For me, it's almost covering just all bases in that period. So, and also it comes down to, I think, looking at where an athlete's weaknesses are. So, if this is a period where if somebody's, maybe speed lacking a little bit, they maybe work on that. But essentially, as you said, you want to be strong enough to be able to handle the marathon specific training in that last sort of 12 weeks. I like to add a lot more hilly sort of stuff for strength, where you're not really worried so much about marathon paced efforts during this period, but you just want to build strength. And that's a good way of doing that is through like hilly tempos or longer hill reps, that sort of thing. But yeah, as you said before, it's covering that sort of, 10K type fitness as well. And just building your general volume up to the point where volume's not going to be an issue in that marathon block.
Because that's what you need, don't you? You need that volume.
Yeah.
Another thing as well, like, I need you guys to make me accountable of this, because after Valencia, I said I was going to start doing gym work, and I haven't actually started 3 months on. But that's also like, if you think gym work's important for you in that 12 weeks leading into the marathon, you don't start it 12 weeks before. You need to start at the 24 weeks before. So when you get to the 12 weeks before, it's already embedded into your routine, and you're not going to have those like early on DOMs, which you get when you just start out.
Yeah.
What else you got, Moose? Super Coach Daly Pashley to 19th at the World Cross Country Champs. Give us something.
I think, no, it's pretty much it. You guys talked about preparing to prepare. So being in a position where you don't have to build through that last 12 weeks, you're already there and you can take advantage of the training rather than have to build into it. So you can start that first week of marathon training without having to get used to running 2.5 hours because you've been doing it for the last 12 weeks or so. And I also like to do some sort of prep work in terms of longer tempos. So getting maybe once every 3 weeks, you go out for, from a time frame from 40 minutes to 60 minutes and doing a tempo run. So you don't just cop that kind of shock of having to do real long, steady stuff when you hit that block. So we'll keep that in there. And yeah, just basically becoming an overall better runner and then switching to specific stuff in that 12 weeks. So yeah, nothing much to add.
A bit of like low risk as well, isn't it? Like it's what's nothing's going to look sexy, but the week together is going to look good. And then if you can do that for 10 or 12 weeks before you hit it, you should be in a good situation.
It'll get you fitter for everything. So I normally like to schedule a race about 12 weeks out, and it will be probably anything from 5 to half marathon. And you can train for it using that type of Tuesday VO2 stuff, Friday threshold, longer tempo, Sunday harder long run. The way that we kind of train, it can get you ready for the 5K stuff, or it can get you ready for a half marathon. There isn't a ton of differences in the workouts. Maybe the 5K to half marathon, sure, you do a bit more threshold stuff for the half and a bit more faster work for the 5, but not. People would be really shocked at, I think, at how little the training changes. Yeah, and then you can race, and then you can have a down week, and then you hit the marathon stuff.
Yeah, you're so versatile for your race options. And I know, I love banging on about AV cross-country stuff, but this is what you kind of do in that winter block, because you can drop down to a 3K lap of the 10 or run a half marathon. And everything in between. It's a good training block of base period, I think it was worded in the question, to get you fit over a number of distances.
And I think also don't be greedy during this period in terms of, like, you don't go, like, I'm going to pick on Christian here, but I saw on his Strava, like, we ran 2.5 hours, and then it's like 30 weeks till Berlin. And it's just like, you know, if that's where your focus is now and you're starting your Berlin prep from here, it's a bit too soon. So you just cool your jets a little bit during this period, get, you know, your volume up, but don't start thinking that you need to be doing like really fast finish long runs and sessions at the back end of your long run, because by the time you get to 12 weeks out, you're going to be sick of that stuff and you've got nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's that mental fatigue, isn't it? I think he's taking the piss with that. I think he's joking. Him and Moose, he was joking with, I think. Anyway, it's a good question, Ian. Thanks to the Sydney Marathon for their sponsorship of the show and the Training Talk segment this week. Moose on the Loose, purchase of the week. Rules of Strava. Moose is confused.
Moose's training tips.
I've got a fair hatred for concrete at the moment, so that's one. But no, I've been noticing these social media posts lately from athletes, and they'll mention something, but they'll be very quick to leave out like a detail. So if you have a race and you do like a post afterwards, what are the things that you think that you would include in the post so that all your followers know what you've done?
Where you came, position, your time.
I'd say those two. Yeah, like time and position would be the two main ones, you'd think. Yet, you know that if someone has run has done pretty well, but like in terms of their placing, but they haven't run fast, they're leaving the time out. So I was like, I was second place at this race in this age category, and but they're not going to write the slow time. Or if they've run a fast, most of the time, like you're going to run a fast time, you're going to finish pretty fast as well, like high up in the field. It's just like this cultivation of social media. Like, what do I want to tell my followers, and what don't I want them to know, and how can I cultivate this post so that they think that I did really well, without knowing that I was actually pretty slow in my race. And I just noticed it a lot over the last couple of weeks. It's just social media in general, I guess, isn't it?
What about Batuta Advocate? I've just got this open. Hospital bed selfie appears on social media with absolutely no context.
There's a Family Guy episode where Peter Griffin does the same thing.
Is there?
He takes.
The comments here are great as well, like, I'll PM you, babe. Like, you know how that...
Oh, yeah.
Here if you need me, honey. Don't really want to get into it. I don't want to talk about it. Like, yeah. Oh, my God.
Oh, no, okay? Don't really want to get into it is exactly the Peter Griffin one.
Okay, yeah. That's similar to what you're talking about.
Oh, it's in the same ballpark for sure.
Same ballpark for sure. That's good. All right, that was good. What's coming up, fellas? We've got the Sydney Track Classic this week. I did see fields were announced for that. No, nothing longer than a 1500, and maybe just 8 for men's.
I thought the national 3K is on there as well.
Okay. Have they not released that field? I just saw like an Instagram photo the other day, and it had some of the fields, but I didn't see a 3K.
Yeah, because it's maybe that's nationals. Maybe that's maybe it's on the Athletics Australia website. I don't know. I'll have a quick look now. But okay. I'm pretty sure there's a 3K, and it's the national champs.
Something else to watch though, Nagoya Marathon. Izzybat Doyle's heading over there to race, and Eloise Welling. She was on with Croaks last week. She's run 2:25.10 there, Eloise, last year. Leanne and Ali both pacing, I hear, Moose. You'll maybe know more about that. What pacing pack? Maybe Ali talks about it in this episode of Road to London. Izzy ran 2:28.10 at Melbourne. She's going to go much quicker than that, isn't she? But how quick? She have to go for somewhere in the ballpark of Lisa?
I'd say she'd be going for a qualifier. I'm not sure she'll aim for 2:23, but I don't know. I know Ali's pacing 71.5 at this stage, so that's 2:23 pace, isn't it? So maybe she's on that pack. Who knows?
Yep. Any predictions, boys? What do you think they're going to run? Hard to know.
Oh, I'm going to throw out Izzy's going to cut her PB down to 2:26 after going out a bit hard, and Eloise runs 2:27 high. Just not sure she's in the shape she was when she ran 2:25.
Yep. All right. Audio this week. Christian and Toby Friday. Road to London now after I've got off air. So heaps happening in the world of Inside Running Podcast. Croaks, what are you doing between now and next week?
Hopefully getting myself back to full fitness and health. And then we've got a long weekend actually coming up. Canberra Day, long weekend.
Oh, yeah. Victoria's got that as well. Monday off.
So, yeah. And the men's 3K national final is on at 8:12 p.m. on Saturday, and the women's national 3K final is on at 7:16 p.m. But I can't find any fields.
So what's Jess Hull doing? She must be the 3K.
3K, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And Cam Myers, I know, is doing the 3K as well.
Oh boy. Be interesting to see how he goes. 3:55 mile into 3K. Could be quick.
Another national record.
World record, I reckon. All right, Moose, what are you doing? You're coming home. Safe travels back.
Coming home. Yep, so surviving another few nights in a hotel room with a crying baby.
On cue.
on cue, yeah.
Yep.
You've done well to be here for an hour without any blow-ups in the background.
I know. I mean, she'd been out of the room. She just come back lately. So anyway, I got to go.
Yep, all right. See you, boys. Talk to you next week. Catch ya.
Bye. The all-new Sydney Marathon is Australia's marathon. So join us at the start line this year for an event you'll never forget. Register now at sydneymarathon.com.